Coach, the energy out there felt different. What changed for the team today?
It was the new game day scratchers from the California Lottery. Players, everything. Those games sent the team's energy through the roof.
Are you saying it was the off-field play that made the difference on the field?
Hey, a little play makes your day, and today, it made the game. That's all for now.
Coach, one more question.
Play the new Los Angeles Chargers, San Francisco 49ers, and Los Angeles Rams Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by shipping cheap parts around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest. And now you, the consumer, are paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Skip the tariff and snag yourself American-made clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
And a very good afternoon. Welcome to Freedom Fools, one of three shows born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. Wow. Nice Saturday. It is feeling fall-like, and I do see some of the leaves starting to turn on the trees. Could the foliage be right around the corner? 508-996-0500. That's how you get onto the program today. Today is National Day of Remembrance for Aborted Children. I had no idea that there was even such a day. Positive Thinking Day. Uncle Sam Day. And it's also World First Aid Day. Margaret Chase Smith. She was elected a U.S. Senator, and she became the very first woman in this country to serve in both the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. She was elected, by the way, in 1948 to the Senate. After the September 11 attacks, civilian air traffic resumed in the United States on this date in 2001. And in 2007, the United Nations General Assembly adopts the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. All this leads to our quote of the day. Much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has been a history of replacing what worked with what sounds good. Much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has been a history of replacing what worked with what sounded good. That quote from one of my mentors, Thomas Sowell. Well, there has been more added to the fuel of the Charlie Kirk murder. But, there are other things going on. And in fact, during hour number 3, we definitely are switching gears today. We'll be talking about some kind of sex ed mandate for Massachusetts schools. And I say some kind of because every time I look up and there's something dealing with sex education in the schools, and I wonder why we're not learning some of the other things that we should be learning in school. I say some kind of sex mandate. We'll get into that more during hour number 3. There is a couple of things dealing with schools that I would like to bring up during hour number 1, and we could extend it into hour number 2. And of course, I know, look, there were a couple of people that tried to get in last evening on Brian's beat. One I was actually talking to, and I had to cut mid-stride because of the fact that we were running up against the clock. And I told him, look, if you want to call back again today, you're more than welcome to do so. So I expect to hear from him if he is willing and wanting to. But outside of Charlie Kirk, just for right now, again, you can talk about the whole thing dealing with Charlie Kirk. I brought this up yesterday. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, I'm still hearing a lot of the liberal angle. And in fact, the president of the United States apparently is going to try to come up with some kind of angle to curb these types of shootings. I don't know what his intent is, but one can only wonder. And as ABC News was reporting, and I have no follow-up on what ABC News is reporting, but basically everything that the president has stated in reference to this seems to be aimed at the more liberal side of the United States of America. And ABC points out, and they're correct to point out what happened to the Pennsylvania governor last year, and also the shooting of the 2 Minnesota lawmakers earlier this year. Those are just 2. My guess is there are others. But if you are the president of the United States and you're trying to be even-handed about this, what would you do? Or if you had the president's ear, what would you recommend to President Trump as a way to try to curb this type of violence, the violence that took down Charlie Kirk? Now, I think there was a report on ABC. If not on ABC, I heard it on another station earlier today, where they're talking about beefing up guards. And I guess that makes sense. You probably, if you have somebody notable coming to your campus, you want to try to make sure that there's enough protection for that person. Now, as outlandish as Charlie Kirk could be, I never even dreamed that he would be a target, whether it's from the left, the right, out of the country, inside the country. I just never thought that Charlie Kirk would be such a target. So how do we go about handling this? How do we go about trying to make sure that this type of violence is stopped? I know the president isn't going to start banning guns. And if ABC, or let me take it from this angle instead of if ABC is right, because I have no reason to believe that they are wrong. But if the president is only targeting one group of people, how constitutional would such a move be? Is this one of those, let's bring the National Guard in? Oh, there was somebody who called yesterday about Antifa. and how some of the scrimshaw, as I like to call it, on the bullets are markings of something that Antifa would do. I haven't heard Antifa make any claims that they had any responsibility for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And I suppose I really shouldn't expect them to. I have heard, such as to believe, did you hear about this? In Israel, they have put up a big monument of Charlie Kirk. A mural type monument. I don't want to make it sound like somebody started chiseling away on rock. But this thing was huge, considering. And I thought, why would Israel erect something like that for Charlie Kirk? Considering lately, at one particular time, the Israelis tried offering Charlie Kirk some money and he didn't want to take it. And for whatever reason, check this out, it seems that Bibi Netanyahu is going to be, he's already made a pronouncement that Israel had nothing to do with the Kirk shooting. I got to be honest with you. I never gave it a thought that Israel had anything whatsoever to do with the shooting of Charlie Kirk. So why would Netanyahu come out and make such a statement? Or maybe the better question should be, who pointed the finger at Israel in this shooting and why? Because quite frankly, again, Charlie Kirk could be a lightning rod, but not to the point that somebody would want to plug him off. Or at least in my opinion. So I don't get it. Maybe you do. All right, so that's my early spiel on Charlie Kirk. Now, while all of this has been going on, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but there was a kid from Cape Cod that was apprehended the other day for, and I think the charges threatening violence to a school or something along those lines. In fact, you can read the story at WBSM.com. Tim put it up the other day. Falmouth teen arrested for alleged school shooting threat. An 18-year-old. Charges related to alleged threats to conduct a school shooting. Now that's pretty big news, considering all that's going on. But we didn't talk much about it because, quite frankly, a lot of people are interested in what's going on with Charlie Kirk. But Falmouth is, a little bit farther than right down the street, but it's in the backyard or just outside the backyard. Now, what the authorities found at this kid's house was one of those 3D machines that allows you to make a gun. In early September, school safety monitors reported a suspicious male walking in the woods behind a Falmouth public school. They told police they believed he was casing the school. Police later identified Fotheringham, that's his last name, as the person They did not say at which school it allegedly occurred. Last month, Falmouth police received information that Fotheringham indicated that he wanted to shoot up a school, although he did not specify which school. He also allegedly stated that he was refurbishing firearms in his room. Falmouth police conducted a search, but they didn't find any illegal firearms. This is troubling. The kid's name, Ian Fotheringham, 18 years old. I think he goes back to court Monday or Tuesday, Barnstable. And I think there's also a dangerousness hearing set, for Tuesday. Dangerousness hearing set for Tuesday. So that's going on. We had UMass Boston shut down in the afternoon on Thursday. Classes called off into the evening because of somebody made a note that shots had been fired. That took second fiddle to all this dealing with Charlie Kirk. This is a pretty big event. If you have a child or grandchild that's a student at UMass Boston, you are concerned. And it did. Look, I was watching the news when this happened, and at least New England cable news was giving us wall-to-wall coverage. But as soon as the all clear came up, guess what? Back to talking about Charlie Kirk. And I'm not trying to make light of what happened to Charlie Kirk. I am pointing out that we, the me's and you's, we're in a position to talk all we want about this and blame one side or another side, or it's the school, their teachings are too liberal. We're all into that. And I guess I'm what do they call that guy? The barker at the circus when it comes to that kind of stuff, because that's what we do in talk radio. But the fact of the matter is, we get so involved, it becomes so intense, we think we know what happened, whether we do or don't, that we tend to forget about some of the things that we really need to be worried about, need to be taken care of in our own backyard. So I do want to tell you about some of the other things that have been going on since we have been, and I'm not saying wrongly, rightly so, talking about one of our talk show hosts right here at this radio station, whose voice has been silenced for no good reason at all. However, here's something that we definitely talked about not too long ago, when all the rage around here was the undocumented people and other folks coming into Massachusetts and getting housing. Not too long ago, that was a hot topic. Well, headline from Channel 5, migrant convicted of raping teen at Massachusetts hotel shelter in 2024. So we knew that this person had been detained. But we lost sight of the fact that there was a court case. And he was found guilty. Corey Alvarez, 27, convicted following a 4-day trial. Less than 6 hours of jury deliberation. found guilty of aggravated rape of a child with a 10-year age difference. I don't know that the 10-year age difference really makes a big deal. He was 27, and she was a 15-year-old. Now, unless there's something about the laws that I don't know, that's if he were 18 and she were 15 and did not give consent. But in this particular case and the testimony that she gave, she was trying to tell him to stop. She was saying no. Aggravated rape of a child. And we talked about that because when we first heard about the story, we were saying, you got to be kidding me. Somebody that is here illegally got into a shelter and he raped somebody inside that shelter? We were fuming. All of us. We couldn't, I guess we could believe it, but we didn't want to believe it. Well, this is what the girl stated. I told him to leave me alone, but he didn't stop. The girl directed police to the room and pointed him out as her assailant, according to the police report. Alvarez came to the United States from Haiti in June 2023 and has been living at the hotel while seeking immigration status. Well, here it is. He was found guilty. He's going to be sentenced. And according to Massachusetts law, this guy has to do a minimum of 10 years. So, that means for 10 years, we, the people of the Commonwealth, have to pay for this bum to be behind bars. And then maybe he gets deported. I say maybe. My guess is he's not going to get the asylum that he wants. He might be getting some other stuff behind bars, but it won't be asylum. So, how do you feel about that? 10 years. I am one that is not for the death penalty, and rape probably does not qualify for the death penalty unless somebody was killed in the process. But I don't like the idea that we have to pay for this. I guess the only other choice is to turn this guy over to ICE and have him go through the proceedings and let him be deported. I'm not quite sure how the victim and the victim's family would feel about that, and somebody could raise a question. How do you know that he won't try to come back into the United States? Well, we don't. But I think this is what it comes down to. Do we as a society here, do we make the judgment call to say, all right, let's now turn him over to the feds with this conviction on his sheet that says now ICE can really say that they've got one of the worst of the worst. Let him go through the proceedings, and I'm going to make a big leap of assumption here. He's found guilty and he gets deported. Or do we opt for the longer route and say he's got to do the 10 years behind bars and the yous and me's have to pay while he's behind bars? 508-996-0009. 500. And this is more Kirkish, but I think it's important to bring it up. And in fact, I did yesterday. I talked about some of the Massachusetts teachers that have made some insane comments about Charlie Kirk, or I should say about the murder of Charlie Kirk. Samantha Marengo, who was a teacher in Framingham, she posted a video. Now, who's got the balls to do something like this? She has a video of herself celebrating Kirk's death, where she's smiling and singing "God Bless America." She's got the TV on in the background, and it's showing the reports of Charlie Kirk's death. That's pretty sick. That's pretty damn sick. Even if you don't like the guy. I mean, I was not a fan. I'm not happy that he's dead. For one thing, we've got to replace a host here. A pretty good host, if I may add. So it's disturbing that Charlie Kirk was killed. Okay, that's bad enough. But now you got some teacher, because that's what she is, elementary school teacher, singing "God Bless America" because Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. What run-ins did she have with Charlie Kirk? I am not on the school committee in Framingham. I'm very familiar with the town, growing up there. But if I could whisper into an ear or two of the people on the school committee, I would say that she should not be allowed back in the classroom. You know, maybe some other town can pick her up, another state, whatever the case may be. But I wouldn't want her teaching my kids. No, thank you. Again, if she were singing "God Bless America," happy that Charlie Kirk died in her home without hoisting the video up on social media, that's one thing. I wouldn't know about it. The rest of us wouldn't know about it. But she put it up on Instagram. My guess is not only did people from the school see it, find out about it, but tens of thousands of others have had a chance to view that. And I'm sure that there's some people that did copycats. And there are others that are disturbed by the fact that this Samantha Marengo would do such a thing. So, again, if I were on the school committee, my vote would be, let her go. Others might say keep her. I say let her go. No idea. By the way, she is on leave right now. And the big question is, should it be paid or unpaid leave? It should be paid leave until she is dismissed, if she is indeed dismissed. Because if she's not, if going through everything, the school committee and the superintendent find no harm, no foul, well, and you don't pay the person, then you got to do the back pay, and you risk a lawsuit. Anne Marie Donahue, we talked about her yesterday and I believe on Thursday. Wachusett Regional High School. Freshman English teacher. She responded to Charlie Kirk's death by posting, on Instagram, just a reminder, we're not offering sympathy. She, too, has been placed on administrative leave. She's not allowed on school property. I stated yesterday there has to be a little bit more to this than the quote, just a reminder, we're not offering sympathy. For one thing, it doesn't say anything about Charlie Kirk in the quote. So there has to be something else there. And until I find out what the something else is, or more to the point, if all there is just a reminder we're not offering sympathy, now I think the scales of educational justice have tilted in the wrong direction. I think the larger question is, and there's another teacher that I could tell you about right now where she is stating expletives. What do we expect from our school teachers? How much leeway should they have when they're off the clock? So in other words, these postings, to the best of my knowledge, did not happen during school hours. These postings weren't done on the school's website or the school's Facebook. It was done with the person's private or personal Facebook or Instagram. So where do you think a line should be drawn? Should a person, they don't like Charlie Kirk, should they be able to say, hey, we're not offering sympathy? I mean, to me, there is definitely a gray line with that comment. Like I said, there has to be more. But at what particular moment is it your time to do what you want to do? This is not school business. If I don't like somebody, I don't like somebody. And at what time do you say, wait a minute now, you may be using your own Facebook or Instagram or your own social media, but there are people that are in your classroom, there are parents of the students that you teach that do see this stuff, and it bothers them. And if it bothers them, well, we run the system, and we don't want to tolerate that, because if it reflects bad on us because you did it, what are we supposed to do? 508-996-0500. Thank you for your patience. Hello.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
I am. How are you?
Well, thank you. I have to agree with you on the attitude you're taking. You're not saying you were for him or against him, but today the young people are extremely more impressionable, in my opinion, than they were when I was young growing up. And I do some work in school. I teach in a facility, and I also was on a school committee in New Bedford at one time. And I got to tell you, a lot of teachers do indoctrinate children in their attitudes, from the sense that sometimes if they don't concur with what they're teaching them, particularly in a history class or that, they'll down their grades a bit. They even do that sometimes in college. And it's very easy if you keep pounding out that message rather than let them debate and say, well, you have good points and bad points. What do you think? But having young people today, and anybody for that matter, that takes joy in murdering a person, what are we doing to our society? Because these young people are impressionable. And that's something that, sticks in their head. And, oh, well, my teacher said so, or my teacher put it up, and she agrees with her that. let the children work things out and explain to them that there are certain lines in this country. We have freedom, and thank God we're in the greatest country, because if they said or did things of that nature and they lived in Iran, Iraq, or place, you would never see them again. But do it in a respectful way. Don't let them see that violence is a great way, like some legislatures on both sides will say, well, let's go at them, get them, counteract them, go up into their face, let them have it. It's a wrong message we're sending, and this is why when I did a lot of work on scholarship boards throughout this city, you see grades going down, you see children overseas say, oh, in games that they play or they have collegiate challenges, and they'll say, oh, here comes the Americans. They're not doing well. Their grades are going down, and I know COVID played a big part in it, but just the same, we are creating our own monsters from within, and a teacher should be there to guide them and let them know what's right and wrong, and let them discuss opinions, but not come out with a narrative.
Well, how do we know the teacher is saying what is right? I mean, when you say it like that, the teacher is the judge, so to speak, and what if what the teacher is saying is right, the family says is wrong?
Well, I think it's still a good way to express to any child that you work with, and particularly a lot of children get very friendly. Some teachers today, most of our teachers are great, but you do have teachers sometimes, and I've seen it in the workplace, and I've also seen it in the school system, that they get buddies, and the children like them. Even when I was in school years ago, you had teachers that liked you, and you respected them, and you looked for them for advice. I think that setting the tone that, you have to make up your own mind, decide what you think is right or is not against the law. You don't indoctrinate them or say, well, this is great, or I'm personally happy this one died. And even if they didn't say it in the class,
and I get that, but now we've got one teacher who said, God bless America, and, singing the song, and had Charlie Kirk's death on in the background. What should the system do to that teacher?
If I was on that school committee, I personally would vote to terminate her.
Okay.
But that would be me.
All right, no, that's your vote. Okay. The other one here, this teacher from Wachusett, we're not offering sympathy. Just a reminder, we're not offering sympathy. Is that a reason to terminate?
I wouldn't say no, but I would also say that, that somebody's husband, somebody's spouse, somebody's parent. I don't think, if you're not at war with the people, all he advocated, whether you're on the right or the left or whatever you're in between, all he seemed to advocate. I listened to a lot of his speeches. I've listened to him a lot. I've never, ever heard him say to somebody, well, it's a good thing to kill them. It's a good thing to get rid of them, murder. I've never, ever heard that Charlie Kirk say that. So even if you don't like him or you don't agree with the right or you don't agree with the left side.
You do know that Charlie Kirk said that the Gazans weren't starving.
Well, I did not hear him say that, so okay. I'll take your word for it. No, I did not hear him say that, but on the flip side of it, I never heard Charlie Kirk say to kill them or destroy them either.
Yeah, right.
I've never heard
that. What I'm trying to get at is, and it's pretty obvious. Thank you for your call, first of all. It's pretty obvious that, thanks, Charlie can be a lightning rod. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about, or could be a lightning rod. Let's do one more before the break. Thank you for your patience. Hello.
Oh, hey, Brent. Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about this from this angle. I was listening to another show a little earlier, and they were talking about it almost from a theater management angle.
Theater management?
Yeah, in other words, they set up a stage. They had to make arrangements to set up that stage a week ahead of time or something like that, right? They were going to have an event, like a student body. One of the campus clubs had to invite him. They had to approve of the lecture or the speaking engagement. They had to do plans for parking of strangers as opposed to students only, things like that. And when you do it from a theater management angle, you have to have insurance. you have to have a whole bunch of structure. Is the school going to be liable for his death? Or if he was going to be a lightning rod and he was going to come on their campus, he was supposed to have his own security. But apparently, in the way they were describing it, this is kind of a cop show.
So I don't know who they is.
Well, it's a Chicago station, and he's. I could give you the call letters.
No, that's all right. But when you say the way they were describing it, it's like, well, who the hell is that?
Well, this guy was, I think he was a major in the National Guard, and he was familiar with how organizations like schools would do a structure of, a contract arrangement to have this guy on campus doing a speech, and especially using student funds. Well, he would, if he's going to be getting paid to do that, then there has to be an insurance policy on it. And, especially a lightning rod guy like Charlie Kirk. And so apparently the structure, this guy was kind of bugged because they didn't have any drones looking at whether or not anybody was on a roof. That would have been a real smart idea to have some kind of...
Yeah, and I won't argue that, but... hindsight's 20/20. It would have been smart to have drones now that we know that. But how many times when Charlie Kirk went to speak wherever, whether it be England or anywhere here in the United States, was there ever a threat posed to him? And if there was, either his security team or arrangements would have been made. I think now what we're going to find out is that we're going to have more arrangements coming up, maybe more than we really want to see. But when you have crap like this happening, well, now the repercussions are somehow, some way, we're going to pay.
To change something, you must build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
I'm not going to get into the weeds of the numbers, but the quantities of food that have been brought into the Gaza Strip since the beginning of the war and month over month is enough to feed the Gaza Strip for longer than this war has gone on, for about 27 months worth of food.
That piece right there was an interview that Charlie Kirk was doing, and they were going back and forth. That was the other person with Charlie actually talking about the food, but Charlie was agreeing with him. I'm bringing that up because we had a caller earlier who did not know about the how Charlie Kirk felt about that food situation. Thank you. Hello.
Good afternoon, Brian. How you doing?
I am.
Good, Brian. I'd like to lower the temperature. I just want to talk about a local topic.
What you got, some ice cubes?
I wish I did. Actually, it's perfect. It's no ice cubes needed.
Okay.
Like today.
Knock it out, man.
Okay, quickly, on this thing about this whole hate speech. In my personal opinion, there's no such thing as hate speech. If you don't like the speech, you call it hate speech. I don't know what's this thing about people get so offended about people's words. I don't understand. You could just walk away and ignore it. Now, an employer who has a company, I understand. If there's some egregious thing that the employer doesn't agree with, they have the right to terminate that person if you're representing the company. So that I could understand. But all this hate speech stuff has to stop, because look what's happened in Canada and England. It becomes, what you think is hate speech, what you say is going to become hate speech. So there's no such thing, in my opinion, as hate speech. Okay, once speech has crossed the line, like it crossed the line this week when somebody got assassinated, that's when we have a problem.
Well, that's not the speech, that's the actual killing.
But exactly, but once speech passes into aggression and violence, that's when a person should be held accountable. A person shouldn't be held accountable because something that you don't want to hear. You know, this is why we live in a free country. You may not like everything. That's why it's called freedom. You have the option to not to listen and to walk away. No one's duct taping you onto a chair or making you listen to anything. So people got to grow up and be adults already.
All right. Okay. I want to take what you just brought up and put that into these two cases, because now we've got teachers who teach in the classroom, have little kids, In fact,
I heard, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you've got one singing "God Bless America" with the Kirk reports going on in the background, and you've got the other one, just a reminder, we're not offering sympathy. If you were on a school committee, how would you handle the situation?
They both have the right to say it.
Okay.
They both have the right to say it.
But do you have the right to? Okay, but do you have the right to suspend or terminate?
It depends if what that teacher says is offensive, but it's not fireable. What's fireable if a teacher said something that's really attacking a person's faith and religion, because you're teaching students who might have that faith in religion and beliefs. So as long as the teacher is showing both sides, the problem we have in colleges, it's one-sided.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to stop you for a second because I thought you wanted to talk about something other than the Kirk. So quickly, because I have about a minute and a half.
Now, I know that you're in the town committee in Dartmouth, and I'm speaking to neighbors of mine. I'm very concerned about that Hawthorne Country Club. They're talking about 135 homes being up there. We're seeing all kinds of buildings being put up, buildings. It's going to affect our sewage system, going to affect our school system. I mean, this is being done without no foresight. 135 homes, you're talking traffic, you're talking sewage, you're talking a bursting population. I mean, I think we're going out this like too crazy. You got the one on Dartmouth Street. They're building another huge building on Dartmouth Street. They're building another building down Route 6 for more apartments.
So is your thought that maybe this complex at Hawthorne shouldn't happen, which, by the way, abuts the condos that are right behind there? You know that, right?
But those condos are as many as they're proposing, 135. It's basically going to look like Lincoln Park, one house after another. I don't know about you, Brian. I paid my dues to move into the suburbs. I don't want to move into another city. I really don't. This is why I live in the suburbs. I want to get away from that. Okay?
Good point.
Because you're talking about,
so when I go to town meeting,
homes,
if this comes up, how do you want me to vote?
Against it. I mean, I'll be all for some, okay, let's cut it in half. Maybe 75 homes, 70 homes, a good piece of land, a good suburb, a good house, okay? Not one after another. I mean, it's too much.
So you don't want an apartment complex?
Hell no.
Okay, gotcha.
We're making them now. Brian, actually, I want to start paying attention too, because I would try to get my days off, because I work evenings on certain nights of the week, and it's on Tuesdays, right? That they have the meetings on Tuesdays.
Town meeting,
because
yeah.
I told, because I told like my neighbor, because I'm going to sit there and listen and learn, because I don't like the trend. I understand the apartments for senior citizens. I get all of that. They're doing one on Dom Street. But again, what's going to happen to our sewage system?
I got you. I'm going to let you go at that. Thank you for bringing it up.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's see. Hour number 1 about over. We'll be back in a sec.
Give me liberty or give me death.
I hate being lied to, and I hate being propagandized. And this weekend, there was an all-out propaganda campaign trying to make it seem as if Israel is intentionally starving the people of Gaza.
That was Charlie Kirk. And as I said, you can see why he can be a lightning rod. Now it seems, again, who knows what the rumor mill is.
Coach, the energy out there felt different. What changed for the team today?
It was the new game day scratchers from the California Lottery. Players everything. Those games sent the team's energy through the roof.
Are you saying it was the off-field play that made the difference on the field?
Hey, a little play makes your day, and today, it made the game. That's all for now.
Coach, one more question.
Play the new Los Angeles Chargers, San Francisco 49ers, and Los Angeles Rams Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Could you pass the chopsticks? Your company started in a kitchen. Now your office has 3. Your team of 5 grew to an army of 500. And your logo was just hoisted 30 stories high.
Do you think they'll see it from the highway?
I think they'll see it from space. Your business is big, and it's only getting bigger. You need a world-class professional services firm to help you get there. Accounting, advisory, insurance, and more. Purpose-built for the middle market. CBiz. CBIZ.com.